Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and recently there have been a lot of rumors that Apple will be changing the naming scheme for this year's upcoming iPhones with the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. With the successor of the iPhone XR becoming the iPhone 11 and the successor to the iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max becoming the iPhone 11 Pro, and it looks like Apple will also be dropping the Max and Plus naming scheme to the just iPhone 11 Pro that will come in two different display sizes, 5.8 inches and 6.5 inches. Now, I must admit, when I first heard the naming scheme iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro, I was kind of turned off. I didn't like that naming scheme, and that's because when you think of Pro, you think of a product that's meant for professionals. So you have products like the MacBook and the MacBook Pro, or I guess now the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, with the MacBook Air obviously being geared towards more lighter use, and then the MacBook Pro kind of stepping up more towards that professional level. You could say the same with things like the iMac and the iMac Pro. You have the iMac, which is more consumer level, and then you go up to those higher end configurations of the iMac Pro and now the Mac Pro, which are really meant for more professional use. And also with other Apple devices like the iPad Air and the iPad Pro, we can see that the iPad Pro has features that are more pro-oriented, like a faster processor, a better camera, the way that the design is, the way that the pencil attaches, and the iPad Pro initially came with a lot of exclusive Pro features, like the Smart Keyboard, like the Apple Pencil, and now the iPad Pro has a USB-C port, which lends it to more Pro connectivity. Basically, the Pro naming schemes in Apple's current lineup point to devices that have more of a professional use rather than a consumer use, and the iPhone is kind of the ultimate consumer device. What I mean by the ultimate consumer device is that everyone just simply has a smartphone. A lot of people, when they go to buy an iPhone, they want the latest and greatest iPhone out there, not necessarily that they're using it for professional use, just that they want the best iPhone that money can buy. However, after the initial reaction of me thinking about this naming scheme for the upcoming iPhone 11, I think it could potentially be a good name if Apple implements some certain features on the higher end iPhone 11 Pro and how they would differentiate the product lineups of the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. So to understand this naming scheme, first we have to look at the lower end iPhone 11. Now, like I mentioned, the iPhone 11 is going to be a successor to the iPhone XR. And this iPhone 11 is going to very much end up being the default iPhone, much like the iPhone XR for this cycle ended up becoming the default iPhone. When the iPhone XS, XS Max, and iPhone XR were launched, it wasn't immediately clear if the iPhone XR would be the best-selling iPhone, but it looks like after all of these sales, and now that we're gearing towards the end of the XS and XR product lineup history, it looks like the XR is the best-selling iPhone, and for a lot of people, the default choice when they walk into a store. I know for my reviews, I've been constantly recommending the iPhone XR over the XS and the XS Max for most people, and mostly everyone I know in my personal life that has upgraded to an iPhone this year has upgraded from an older iPhone to the iPhone XR. So it does make a lot of sense that the iPhone XR would be getting the name the iPhone 11 because the iPhone 11 will be the default iPhone for most people. And I think it would be kind of weird if they kept the name iPhone 11 and then iPhone 11R, because that is not immediately apparent to consumers which of these products is better. Is the iPhone 11 better than the iPhone 11R? The iPhone 11R has an extra letter on it. Traditionally, when Apple adds a letter on the end of their iPhones, that means it's better. So that naming scheme could be very confusing for the average consumer. So for me, I kind of have to ask the question, what can Apple add to the iPhone 11 Pro that would make it stand out from the iPhone 11 and something that we might be able to consider a Pro product? Based on current rumors, we are currently expecting that the iPhone 11 will be a modest upgrade, getting a 2-camera system like the iPhone XS, moving up from the A12 processor to the A13 processor, and having a slightly bigger battery. For now, we expect the iPhone 11 to keep the same LCD display that the iPhone XR has. However, the rumors do indicate that Apple's 2020 iPhones will move over all iPhone displays to OLED technology. As for the iPhone Pro, we expect it to be a very similar design to the current iPhone XS, and it will get the same processor upgrade as the iPhone 11. So with both of these iPhones keeping similar designs to last year's model, what can make the iPhone 11 Pro a more pro-oriented device? I think the first and most obvious answer is the additional camera that will be coming to the iPhone 11 Pro. The iPhone 11 Pro is currently rumored to have 3 cameras, a standard camera, a zoom lens, and then an ultra wide angle lens. Now, of course, additional lenses is always a feature that you could point to as being more professionally oriented, especially if you are taking a lot of photos on your smartphone. Having those different focal lengths and perspectives can give you a variety of different shots to work with, and the addition of an ultra-wide camera on the iPhone 11 Pro is going to be able to give us a wider field of view, not only in photos, but also in videos. Now, a 3-camera system isn't new to a smartphone, and that doesn't necessarily make it a pro feature. We've seen other Android smartphones come out with 3-lens camera systems. However, one of the features on the iPhone 11 Pro does sound particularly interesting, and this could be marketed as a pro feature. Of course, I'm talking about the advanced software that's going to enable the triple lens camera system to fire all at once, maybe capture more detail, but more importantly, be able to correct photos after you've taken them. So imagine you're taking a shot, you maybe misplace the subject, maybe you leave someone out of the photo. Supposedly with the iPhone 11 Pro, you'll be able to go in and edit that photo because you're getting all of these different cameras like the ultra wide and the zoom firing at once. You'll be able to go in, edit it, and then you'll be able to resize that picture in case maybe you left someone out of the picture. It's also no secret that a lot of people are bashing on the iPhone 11 Pro's camera design because of the way those lenses are laid out. However, there have also been rumors that the reason those lenses are spaced in that way is to do with more advanced augmented reality features. So this could lead to more advanced and more realistic augmented reality features on our phone, and maybe also other advanced features like 3D scanning, so you could maybe take your phone, scan an object, and then make that entirely into an AR object that you can place anywhere. We also have to point to the fact that Apple is planning on adding a time of flight sensor to the 2020 iPhones, which should also give it even more advanced AR capabilities. Now, my biggest reason for this augmented reality being a pro feature has actually to do with a rumor about the next generation of iPad Pro. Supposedly, they will also be adopting this 3-camera design. Now, when I first heard this, I thought that this was a weird rumor. Why would the iPad Pros all of a sudden be jumping from 1 camera to 3 cameras and skipping the 2-camera system entirely? But it makes more sense if we think about Apple developing AR glasses and that the iPhone and iPad will become creation devices for future augmented reality applications. Think about how instrumental the Mac was for developing apps for the iPhone. We could see a very similar situation with iOS devices for whatever future eyeglass hardware that Apple comes up with. And maybe these camera systems will help with that 3D scanning, with placing these augmented reality objects into our world, and that will be the platform where people develop these future AR applications. We're also expecting the iPhone 11 Pro to get bigger batteries this year, with a battery increase as high as 25%. That could help it maybe achieve even longer battery life than the regular iPhone 11. Now, those are currently the rumors we expect. However, I think the iPhone 11 Pro does warrant more upgrades that would make it a pro device. For example, I would like to see the addition of a USB-C port on the iPhone 11 Pro. The USB-C port is a much more versatile connector than the Lightning port, and it would be able to connect to a broader range of other devices like storage or external displays. That could really be a standout feature between the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. Another Pro feature I would like to see added is the addition of a Pro Motion display on the iPhone 11 Pro. The iPad Pro has had Pro Motion for quite some time now, and that basically increases the refresh rate up to 120 Hertz, and it basically makes everything super smooth and super responsive, and even makes it feel like you are using a faster device with how responsive that refresh rate is. If Apple is going to be splitting the lineup from iPhone 11 to iPhone 11 Pro, the Pro Motion feature is something that could make it stand out and be a more pro-oriented device. If Apple is adding a Pro Motion display to the iPhone 11 Pro, they might also add the Apple Pencil. Actually, a current rumor suggests that Apple will be adding Apple Pencil support this year. However, I kind of don't believe it, especially with the way that the current Apple Pencils are. They're just kind of too big to really be used on an iPhone. And if Apple was using the Apple Pencil, they'd have to use the first generation Apple Pencil, because the second generation Apple Pencil needs to charge and pair magnetically, and I don't think the iPhones are big enough to support that connector. Now, while I think features like that might warrant the Pro name, it's also possible Apple might just pick the Pro name as a premium name that differentiates the current iPhone lineup. And there are plenty of tech products with the Pro name in them that really have nothing to do with professional use. Think of products like the Powerbeats Pro. And people are using their phones for more pro tasks every day, so it's not completely crazy that Apple would just name it iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro. I would hope, though, that Apple is adding some features that will make this a more pro-focused iPhone. Just like when Apple introduced the iPad Pro, many people immediately mocked the idea of a professional iPad. But in hindsight, the iPad Pro led the way to make the iPad a much more capable device, and maybe we will see if this is the same for the iPhone. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what Apple does, and we won't have to wait too much longer because the iPhones are just a month away from being announced. But I would definitely be interested to hear your take on this. What do you think about the current rumors of the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro names? Also, if Apple is naming it the iPhone 11 Pro, what sort of Pro features would you like to see added to the iPhone? As always, if you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. If you want to support the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.